Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. Welcome back to another episode, special episode. I think we're going to call this the Summit Series 1. And I have a special guest, nicknameless Rick, which we got to find a nickname. What are you thinking right now, Rick? What are you thinking?
I think we better come up with a better nickname.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll come back to the nickname.
Yeah.
But what we're here to do is we're on the eve of the 2024 NHL playoffs. So what we're going to do is sit here like we would in any pub, any bar, talk about hockey, talk about the playoffs, but also look back on the 2023-24 season, talk about the stories, talk some shit. We got a beer.
Yeah.
We got an opinion. First of all, cheers. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast, which you can find on Twitter at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. Also on Instagram and Facebook at Overrated Experience. So hopefully we can use Rick's network and get a massive following. What do you think about that?
I'll send it out. Hopefully we add a few more listeners and we'll hopefully provide some good content.
Well, we're only going to add a few more listeners to how good you are here today. Yeah. Just to let you know. So just give a background. I've known Rick for a long time. We're each other's best man at each other's weddings. And we've had many of argument that expand outside of the NHL, including an argument we won't get into, Jeter versus Rodriguez. He's a Habs fan. I'm a Leaf fan. That may mix into here, but we'll stick to try to keep it business.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds fine, but I'm a hockey fan, you're a Leaf fan. Either way, we'll go with that.
Okay, that's a shot at me. Anyway, so where we're going to go here today is we're going to go anywhere we want when it comes to the NHL. We're going to talk about anything we think we want to talk about. That's because it's my podcast, and we're just going to do what we want to do. We're going to have a few beers, we're going to have a few thoughts, and we're going to have a few opinions, and here we go. So we're going to kick it off talking about our hometown, quickly about the Leafs, and then we're going to jump back into the season that was and then give you our betting picks when it comes to the NHL. And if you've listened to the podcast before, we usually follow the big major sports, expanding outside of hockey, a lot of NFL, a lot of maybe UFC, a lot of Masters we had last week, and then we go into hockey, baseball, and we talk about betting, but we also talk more than that. We talk about the real stories, the real thoughts from an average person's point of view, a square bettor's point of view, and this is why you join. So thank you for those who join every week, every month, and for the last year and a half that we've been doing this. Thank you very much. So as we kick it off, we had to wait till today, Friday, to put this podcast together, arrange our schedules to get together, and part of it was the NHL season did not end until yesterday, Thursday, and the final matchup between Vegas and the LA Kings had to be figured out based on their finish. And then tomorrow it kicks off with 2 games, Islanders, Carolina, and Toronto, Boston. But before we get there, we'll touch base on the Leafs a little bit. So the Leafs come into the postseason struggling big time.
Yeah.
Chasing Austin Matthews 69 to 70 goals, which did not happen. How much were you paying attention and actually took interest in Austin Matthews reaching that 70 goal mark?
Well, for sure. I mean, I think like everybody in the city, probably across anybody that's a hockey fan, chasing 70 is a definite crazy feat. I think 69 is very impressive. I don't think anything can be taken away from him for scoring 69. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do in hockey is to score goals. And, it was an exciting chase. It's just that last game was insane. Like, what did he have?
12 shots
on goal. A bunch of other attempts, and it just, he was going for it. But it's just unfortunate he didn't quite hit the target. But 69, like I said, I mean, you can't take anything away from that. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a great number. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a better number to actually get.
Yeah, it's actually more memorable. Anyway, a little up and down, topsy-turvy. Yeah. Anyway, Austin Matthews, obviously impressive, 69 goals, almost like lapped the field, obviously in the Rock Richard chase. Where would you assess him as far as superstar, franchise-changing, compared to the McKinnons and the Crosbys and the McDavids? What tier, despite the 69 goals, where do you put him to get you to the golden land, which is the Stanley Cup? Like, where would you rank him?
Well, that's a bit of a loaded question because the others have a bit more of a resume, I guess, at this point. If you're talking about McKinnon, obviously he's just won a cup recently. Crosby, a couple cups, and, a gold medal winning goal. So, he's top 5 in the league for sure. Best goal scorer right now on the planet. And I think the things that McKinnon does, I mean, if you watch that guy like game after game, he's just electric. Everything he does is just incredible. The type of goals that that guy could score is unbelievable. And I understand Matthew's got more goals, but I mean, I just think with the overall game and just how McKinnon drives, and I don't know, he just drives that whole team. Him and McCarr, really, but it's incredible. So I got him in my top 5. McDavid obviously is bit of a strange year for him because he's got a couple injuries, but obviously he's there. And then I love Crosby. Crosby's my guy. So definitely, he's up there. He's up there. He's a great talent, but I just think the one that's missing is the playmaking.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Now, before we get on to some of those other guys you mentioned and talking about some of the awards going into the season, let's talk about Leafs. Maybe not exactly what's going to happen in the Boston series or what the result will be when it comes to the series. Betting line, we're going to talk about a little later. I'm going to give you my opinion if that's okay. Is that okay on my own show? I can give you my opinion? Is that fine?
I don't know. I'm going to pay off. I'm just kidding. So that's great.
What I think the pieces have fallen perfectly in it's the 9th year of Matthews or 8th year? I can't even remember what the story is. Okay, so I've been very vocal in this podcast that I thought a significant change, a ballsy move, let's say, even in the Kyle Dubas era, was warranted based on what we've seen the last 8 years. I just didn't think this team could progress or have a chance to progress unless there was a significant ballsy move a la Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, Ujiri kind of move where you kind of put everything on the line and see what happens. I didn't think the Leafs have made that move. We've lived through, I know you're a Habs fan, when it was the COVID year, that was their window, if you had a window to get to the Cup final, and they pissed away.
Yeah.
I know Carey Price stood on his head in that like playoff, not just that series, but the piss away and losing multiple overtimes to the Habs, it was just, that was red sign. Like that's a flag.
Yeah.
And you throw in the year earlier to not get past Columbus in the play-in after having a miraculous comeback in Game 2, and they can't finish it off. And then you get into the years after that. And I don't even think the series win against Tampa was nice and all last year, but that the performance against Florida was just, here we go again. Nobody's showing up. Yep. And I'll give it to you here, but my thought here is that the cards are falling exactly where you want them because you want Boston and potentially Florida, whether it's Tampa or Florida, whatever, in the second round. If you can't climb past those two teams, that tells you everything you need to know that you need to make a significant move as the cap expands going into next year. You look at your Mariners of the world, which is probably the focal point where they'll have to make that move. But I think the chips have fallen where they may, and this is it. This is it. I don't think anybody can stand we'll get it done next year kind of mentality heading in, if they can't get the job done in 2 rounds. I mean, it's get rid of Boston, get rid of Florida. I don't care if they get past Boston. If they can't get to the conference final minimum, you can't even think about not making a significant foundational move with the franchise to kind of take a different direction. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to the style of play. To be honest, the Leafs, everybody talks, obviously they need goaltending, but at the end of the day, it's the defensive system that you have. You got to have the horses on the back end to augment what you have up front. I mean, you look at any of the teams when, you break down the last cup winners. I mean, look at Vegas last year.
Pietrangelo.
Yeah, you got Hill in debt. Sorry.
And they made it work.
I don't mean to laugh at the guy. I mean, obviously he's won a cup. He's a great, he's a great story, but he was almost out of the NHL before that. And, they went through the whole season with a bunch of guys like that. And because they have that core of D where everybody's like 6'4", all could skate, solid D. That's what you need to build. And then you have the Eichels up front that you added and other quality players, and that's what you win with, right? So you look at the Leafs year after year, what's the problem? Every time you look and you go, okay, Riley, offensively he steps up, he's been pretty decent in the playoffs from that perspective, but who else is doing anything on the back end?
TJ Brody's a question mark.
Yeah, TJ Brody scored a nice goal last night.
but think about where his career's gone. He's a question mark now to make the lineup.
I know.
Right? He's supposed to be the number 2 guy.
Yeah, you're not relying on Brody. I mean, I don't mind, sorry, who am I trying to think of right now? McCabe?
Yep.
I mean, he's a solid player, but I mean, he should probably be your 4 guy, a 3-4 guy. And then you need quality defensemen to really make it go. And that's going to be the consistent problem. And you watch guys like, I don't want to pick on Marner all the time, but, you look at him in the playoffs, and I don't care. You guys have 1 or 2 good games. Everybody's like, get off his back. I'm like, guess what? He plays a certain style during the season. Everybody loves him. Comes to the playoffs, he gets shut down pretty easily. And it's because he doesn't have the core backing him as well. So that would help. And that's where you're going to win.
Here's the nail in the coffin. If he doesn't show up like he has not shown up in previous playoffs, there was a stretch this year where he was out for a significant amount of games.
Yeah.
And he wasn't noticeable. Yeah. They were running and gunning without him. And that's going to be, I think, the nail in the coffin as far as the future of him with the Leafs. If he cannot be a standout performer in the playoffs against, obviously, Boston, probably Florida, maybe Tampa, whatever. But this is the first time where you forgot he was there. Oh, yeah, when is Marner coming back? It didn't matter because they were motoring.
Yeah.
Right? So I like the makeup of the team. I'm going to get fooled again. I like the idea that Bobby McMahon could be a factor.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, Bertuzzi's had his up and downs during the year, but I mean, he does have a little bit of the grit factor. I mean, Domi, same thing, and hopefully they come through in the playoffs and you'll see a little bit of the factor. But again, I still point to that D.
Yes.
Like, honestly, like, they really need, like, I mean, I like Labushkin as, like, your 6'7" guy. Great.
Right.
It's a great pickup.
But that's where he is.
You know what? And Brody's, yeah.
Liljegren, and you got, Giordano. Like, what's he have left in the tank?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're relying on him. We may as well call back Carl Brewer.
Yeah. What a haircut.
Yes, exactly. I think that's still always the biggest problem is they lack a little bit of the gritty forwards that they need, which hopefully, like I said before, Bertuzzi and Domi might cover that, but on the back end is where they're really lacking. And I think you'll see, like, reason why is Boston still decent? Why is Boston still a threat? Because guess what? Their back end's good.
Yes, it
Those
is.
two goalies are two backups. They play them one by one, and a ridiculous comment I heard on the radio today is they're going to try and rotate them again.
In the playoffs.
I'm like, listen, if somebody gets a shutout in the first game, just play them again. Hallmark the rest of the way, or Swayman the rest of the way, whatever it is. But, I get it's a bit of a creature of habit, what they're trying to do there. But
you're right on the Boston side. You look at...
Their D is... Sorry.
It is. No, but you said, like, Boston, you have, like, the Chara era, and then you got McAvoy.
Yeah.
It's... like, how do you develop... And they developed, beyond Chara. The Leafs don't develop.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Especially on the back end. They don't seem to ever hit on a good defenseman.
And what about their goalies? What about the goaltending?
Well, again, I point to everybody always says, it's the goaltending in the playoffs, and generally it can be, like when you get like a Tim Thomas, just a ridiculous run, or even Carey Price, like, you get these guys that go on these runs. But sometimes it's just, if you have that solid D core and you put a system in, you can really highlight, because a lot of these goalies are close to the top tier. They're just maybe not quite there. Like, you look at Colorado. Colorado won a cup.
Yep.
Who's their goalie?
Gregoriev. Yeah, Gregoriev.
No, but who was their goalie when they won?
Dude,
there you go. From Arizona?
Yeah, I know. Man, you threw me for a loop there.
Yeah.
I know it. He's in Washington now, but
Exactly.
just threw me. You threw me in the fire. There you go. You threw me in the bus.
So, but the whole point is that he's a top 10 goalie or top 15 goalie, but you put a good system in front of him. Like they had the D. Like you can say what you want about Makar, like offensively, but defensively he was back all the time. Ball air was flying those days. They had who was the other guy they had? Oh my god!
Vegas?
Taves.
Oh, yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm just talking about when the Avalanche.
Oh, you had Taves, Makar. You had even Johnson. Both. Johnson. And he was a spare part, but he did the job.
What I'm saying is that decor was incredible.
Yep.
They moved the puck. There wasn't a lot of quote unquote crap in their own end. And you get solid goaltending, and you'll be fine. Like the end of the day is, I don't want to say this out loud, but I mean, even Samsonov, if you just had a good system in front of him, he's going to look a lot better.
That
right?
You know what? That's a point well made. You're right. You got recent examples where Aiden Hill. Hill's a Stanley Cup champion.
This guy,
right? But if you limit the exposure. With a top, you're right, absolutely right. You limit the quality scoring chances. He can be a Conn Smythe candidate.
Yeah.
Right? That's true. You're absolutely correct.
And you're moving the puck up to the forwards, and they're getting their job done. So that's what you need. You need guys that can move the puck and just take care of their end. And I mean, it's easier said than done, but I mean, you load up a good core, that's gonna win you cups.
And that's scary because I don't think the Leafs in that manner at all. Right? And that's why it's so important that. They got to be dominant on the power play. They almost have to outscore their problems.
Yeah.
Right? And
100%. That's what they have to do.
The Max Domies. Oh, home run, give it up in the Jays. Watching the Jay game in San Diego at the same time. Tatis.
But just quick comment. 7 shortstop.
7 shortstop on the Padres. Crazy.
Go
on. You made a comment, and I want to go back to it. We're talking about Vegas. We used Vegas a couple times. Let's get serious about their cap situation. Suddenly, Mark Stone is ready to go in the playoffs. Can you believe how much? Do you find it how funny that they're the one team that's really fucking around with the cap? It's just because earlier on the GM was on and McClellan, I think it was Kevin McClellan. Almost insulted that anybody would bring up the topic that you're fucking around with the cap. You're not being truthful that the Mark Stones of the world have just a severe injury where it could be career endangering. But then you get a week before the season ends. Oh, he's got the yellow jersey on or whatever it is, and he's got the non-contact. We'll see how it goes as we lead up to the playoffs. Oh, bing, he's ready to go. Yeah. And I haven't confirmed if Mark Stone's ready to go. And I can't recall if he finished out the season with it, but what do you think of that? The Vegas Golden Knights, applaud? Is it applaud? Way to go.
At the end of the day, because it's gone on for a couple of years, we've seen it. My thing is at this point now there's an applaud.
Yeah.
So you do it once, okay. You do it the second time, you're kind of like, oh, what the crap? But it's 3 years, 4 years. Because seriously, I think we're at that point now.
Yes.
And you know what? If no one else has figured that out, whatever at this point, because they're not getting fined. They're not. No one's coming back and saying you've done something wrong. The fans are, but the league's not. So guess what? You need to do the same thing if you're the Leafs. You need to. The Leafs did horse around with their
Revis Island
this year.
Revis Island.
Yeah,
I know that's not this year, but Revis Island was a term for defenseman and former defenseman was just gone.
Yeah.
And what's dude's name? Forward Joffrey Lupul.
He
just disappeared.
Yeah.
That was Law and Order kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
where did this guy go?
Yeah, he's Jimmy Hoffa.
He's gone. Joffrey Lupul suddenly probably driving a Ferrari, not playing.
And modeling all this stuff, and then also you just don't even see his face. He's just gone.
Where did Joffrey Lupul go?
Yeah.
Right. It just happens his career is over. Probably driving a Ferrari in the Dominican somewhere, paid off handsomely. But you have that situation. But let's go back to we talked about Matthews and the 69 goals, which leads me into he's a Rock Richard winner, which is the award for most goals in the regular season for the NHL. When
Named
we talk
after
about
a Canadian, by the way.
what's that?
Named after a Montreal Canadian, by the way.
Oh, really?
So,
Austin Matthews? Oh, Rockham Shark. Sorry, Austin Matthews. Who the hell? Yeah. Anyway, okay. You want a nice. You know what I information that blew my mind today was what year did the Canadians win? 93, right?
The last one?
Yeah, last Canadian team.
Yes,
Not just because it's Montreal, but the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup was 1993. Patrick Roy stood on his head against the Kings.
Oh, yeah.
In that playoffs. Ridiculous. That's why he's a legend.
Yeah.
Right? Honestly, that's why probably the NHL has, for 20 years, had spectacular. Your best player on your team is now your goalie because of Patrick Roy, influencing a lot of kids out there to play net. But 1993, Montreal Canadiens win. Did you know that there has been a longer drought for Canadian teams winning the Stanley Cup than there has been an American team winning the Grey Cup in the CFL?
Yeah, that's true.
1995, the Baltimore Stallions won the Grey Cup.
Yeah,
and that's the last team. But an American team has won the Grey Cup. Not as long as
the Canadian won the Stanley NBA title.
Well, there you go. That's true. But that's insane. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Okay, but let's go back to the awards. So let's look back at the season. So we got Austin Matthews, one of the top performances in 2023-24. You have Kucherov, McDavid, both recorded 100 assists. I don't know about you. It kind of felt like the Matthews, Kucherov, and McDavid was, okay, we're only playing them to get those 100 assists and just to get that milestones.
Yeah.
It felt like that because none of those teams had nothing to play for. So we're going to go to the Hart Trophy for the NHL MVP for the season. How would you rank your top three in that category?
Okay. So
let me rephrase that. How would you rank your top three in that category? But how do you? Is there any deviation of how you think it will actually play out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even though you think so and so should win, but somebody else is going to get it. That's kind of how I want you to look at it.
Okay. So my opinion on how it's going to play out, I think it's going to be between two.
Okay.
I don't think Matthews, because he didn't hit the 70, we won't get enough narrative.
Do you think that was significant? Do you think there's that significant?
To get the narrative rolling in order to give him the MVP over what McKinnon's done all year and what Kucherov's done all year. I mean, if you look at their lineups, look at their lineups.
Yeah.
Are the Avalanche the same Avalanche that won the Cup a couple of years ago? Like, who's the next guy in line? Makar. Makar's the next guy in the scoring.
That's true.
They're super thin, and that guy is McKinnon is just on fire. Like, in my opinion, my vote, if I had a vote, would be for McKinnon. But I think Kucherov has a very excellent case because if you watch Kucherov, like what he does, and the goal the point differential on that team. I know Point was hurt for a lot of the year, but I mean he's got a crazy, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's like a 60-point drop from Kucherov to the next guy. And if you look at that last game, I mean he just the assist for the 100.
Yeah.
Like, he could have buried that. He just, slid it right across. It's I don't know. Just some of the plays he makes are incredible. And McKinnon is he's electric. Night after night. That's the thing. Is night after night, I haven't been able to, I have 5 kids. So,
yeah,
for me, they're all young. And so for me, I haven't watched as much hockey as normally I would watch. But I've watched a lot of the highlights. And so the hockey I have been watching has been later at night. So I've been watching a lot of the Avalanche, Edmonton Oilers. So obviously I see McDavid all the time. So he's obviously in the conversation, but it's just the portion of the season that he's lost. A little bit of the statistics to the other two. He's not going to probably win this year. Probably still the best player in the league. But I just don't think he's going to win it. And I think Matthews, if he wanted to win it, needed the 70 to get it. So that you could create that narrative. And I don't believe that McKinnon will, if he does win it, is going to be just because he hasn't won it.
Yeah.
I think there's enough out there of what he's done this year. I mean, he's really lifted that team. And there's a huge difference on that, too. I think Makar's at 89 points or something, so it's still like a 40-point drop.
Yeah, when you look at the depth chart of the Colorado Avalanche, I mean, you got Rantanen, great player, but really, you got Duran in the lineup. You have Duran, and in the lineup, but it's not the same Avalanche. Landeskog is gone, right? He's not there. Makar is a huge difference, but it's very top heavy, and so. But you got Kucherov, who is the Art Ross Trophy winner, right? Most points.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're going to try to sit down as a voter, what's the measuring stick, right? Like, I mean, in many sports or many ways that people look at it, who's the most valuable to your team? So the NHL, Jack Adams, Coach of the Year, usually it's an underdog story that I didn't expect this team to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
there you
but
go. But, well, and he's probably going to do it. He's probably going to do it. You're absolutely correct. It's the narrative.
Yeah.
But the Hart Trophy, I'm unclear of what the narrative should be. Should it be the kind of like, I find baseball has more of a season statistic and not so much the team, which I get, right? Because like a Mike Trout is like sucks. He's stuck on an Angels team that can't help him out. Or you have an A-Rod with Texas back in the day where he hits 45 home runs or whatever it is, wins the MVP, but this is the worst team in the American League, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
Like, how is the Hart Trophy measured so that you can measure against that to decide your winner?
Yeah, well, so here's going to be my case for McKinnon over Kucherov. So they're 3-4 points difference. So really, it's not that far off. And at the end of the day, if you watch McKinnon play, this is why I'm always fired up when I watch McKinnon play or I watch like Crosby. It's just, for me, like those guys, like the skills that they have are very underrated as far as what they do defensively. Like McKinnon, he's not like he's not blocking shots or that type of thing, but he's always in position. And he's looking at like he's more defensive to offense, right? Like he's looking to get pucks so he can make stuff happen, right? And he gets the puck out quick. So he creates friction on the defense, and when he's back playing his positional defense, he's in the way, he's picking off passes, he's knocking stuff down and creating a quick turnaround. So he's creating problems. Kucherov is a very nice player, and trust me, I love Kucherov. I mean, that guy is incredible. I just think that defensively is the one area that you can make an argument that is a little bit different. Like even with McDavid, if you watch, like, he's not credited for a lot of his defense, but he's positionally back defensively.
Yes.
And that's one thing that Matthews has. Matthews is a very good defender. I think he's a little bit underrated. And there's another home run.
Is it a home run, or they're just looking at the... Oh, it was a mariachi band. And sorry,
I was like, I don't see any ball coming down.
I was pointing to Rick there to look at the stream. My apologies. So you're on a good tirade, and I just cut you off there. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, so I just think the little bit of the defensive side for McKinnon really makes a big difference. Why I would say he's the MVP.
As much as I don't think a voter would look at what I'm about to say, when I really look at, if you compare Kucherov to McKinnon, there's no question what you're talking about. If I had a guy to start a franchise to make my franchise better with one guy and garbage the rest of the team, McKinnon, 110%. Yeah. Kucherov is a big, huge piece amongst great players because he's almost like a puppeteer in the power play, right? He's very good at that. But I don't see him doing what you talked about, where the depth in Colorado is not where it used to be, and he had to kind of carry the load. And yes, he has Makar, yes, he has Rantanen, but that's pretty much it. But Tampa, does Kucherov have that same season without a Stamkos, like a point, whether it be he's not there full time, but that franchise and that system and everything with Tampa motors along. Right, yeah. So I fully agree with you. I know that's not a factor when you're trying to decide how the season went in 2023-24, but that can't be ignored. Yeah. Cannot be ignored. So that's so McKinnon's your guy, but you think Kucherov's going to take it?
I think it's going to just be so extremely tight, to be honest. That it's. I guess I'm probably going to. I'm still going to say my vote. Still. I think people will come to their senses. It's going to be McKinnon.
Okay, I do agree with that. I think McKinnon's your guy too. Okay, so right now I read off the odds. FanDuel's it's not up at the moment, so McKinnon's eventually those odds will be there. McKinnon, to me, I think we have a consensus that McKinnon's going to be the guy. So all right, so I don't think there's going to be a consensus who the rookie of the year is going to be. Connor Bedard, I think, is going to easily win that. Unless there's somebody else. Wow. I just think because of all the hoopla, I think he's going to
Joseph Wall has a really good kit.
Yeah, okay. All right. But I'm just trying to get back to the regular
100%.
season. So, what are your thoughts so far on Connor Bedard? He was the main story leading into the start of the season. Any thoughts, any takes on him?
I think it's a fair rookie season, to be honest. Like, I mean, he had the injury that really hurt.
Yeah.
He's on a bad team. You know what? There was a lot of good moments early in the season, and you see a lot of these teams when they're young. Like, you're going to have your first 10, 15 games into the season, and all like, remember Anaheim?
Yep.
Remember that? Everybody's like, oh, Anaheim turned the corner.
Yes.
Guess what? The worst team in hockey. Or one of them. Arizona had a little bit of a moment. So, Chicago, they had a little bit. But what I like about Bedard is, once he came back from the injury, I noticed him a bit. There was still some, good goals, some tough play. It's just, honestly, it's a rookie season. And, it's a bad team. So I think it's a fair assessment as far as where he's at right now. You can really see that skill, though. I mean, he's got a credible shot, and he's quick, and he can just
For a little guy, he's got such a ridiculous shot.
But the league favors little guys now.
Yep.
You can play as a little guy, and I think the style of play that he has, it's like, sorry again, I hate picking up Martin, and I always go back to that.
Yep.
But like a little guy like that gets to the playoffs and he plays little, right? Like you get Bedard, he seems to have that little bit of, I'm gonna try and be the biggest guy in the room, even though I'm the littlest guy around, right? So I like that. That's why I always like Nylander. That's one thing I will say if I'm going back to the Leafs. I mean, at least, they got ripped the first season, but I think after that he's pretty much tried to just show what he can, and hopefully he's healthy for the playoffs.
Well, going back to Bedard.
On that note, but going back to Bedard.
Going back to Bedard, he finished with 61 points in 68 games played, 22 goals, 39 assists. Now, let's be honest, Chicago was garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the talent that they did have, the Taylor Halls of the world was injured very early.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so what did he really have around him to get those points up and really have a dominant power play? And the Blackhawks are in a situation where now they got to build around. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, one of the guys that was supposed to help him was busy scoring on, other ways.
Oh, yeah. Now in Edmonton, Corey Perry?
Yeah.
There you go.
CP.
CP.
No, you know what? He might be a factor.
In Edmonton?
Yeah,
he could be.
Man.
Him and Evander Kane
he's
on that
gritty,
third line.
He always comes through the playoffs.
Well, let's get to that in a bit. Don't jump ahead, God damn it.
Sorry.
All right. So we have we just want to kind of go through some of the stories and get your thoughts, and let's talk about the season as a whole. And Eastern Conference specifically had more of a, let's say, a fight at the end of the year to see who would make the playoffs, that get that last spot. And I thought there's some interesting stories here. I'm going to serve them up to you, and you tell me what you think. So some of the teams that did not make it, let's go with Detroit. So Detroit was in the driver's seat for a lengthy period of time, and they went on a massive losing streak where they couldn't pick up points. And then they kind of turned the light on a little late in the season and had some dramatic wins. Montreal, obviously you have an association there.
Yeah.
And it was a wild night in the last night, but they put themselves in that position to have to go through that situation.
Yeah.
Is their stock up? Is their stock down? What do you think is going on in Detroit?
Okay.
What would you, let's pretend you're Steve Eisman right now. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's a hard one, but I do think Detroit, yeah, I know. It's a hard one. They should have got themselves in the playoffs at this point. But I think they still have a little bit of a stock upward. Just because if you look at the pieces they have, it's still, I mean, Larkin at this point is just a good player. You can't say he's young anymore, but, he's still youngish, and he's good. And, Schneider?
Mo Schneider, yes. Damn it. Yes.
I mean, really good piece. I mean, the Kane story was a good idea to run him for the year, and that's why I felt like that should have made enough of a difference to get them in. But they've got some young pieces there. And, I mean, Eisenman's a good GM.
Cider.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the German, yep.
But I do think that their run to the playoffs is a good sign. I think I'm jumping ahead, but Philly's
No,
on the right.
they'll go there. Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
I'll get there because I have some
So,
comments on Philly. So
Yeah. I just think that, they're turning the right direction. It's just next year's do or die for them.
I think it is. I think that now they're on the stage, the
Yeah.
pressure that, because I think the comment was Steve Eisenman wasn't expecting this team to be in the playoffs, so I guess this was icing on the cake. However, next year, it's all on the line, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be key in free agency.
Yeah, they got to do something.
Right? They got, they already made the moves for like the Brinket, picking up Patrick Kane.
Forgot about DeBrincat.
Yeah.
He's a good player,
He's a good
man.
player.
I like it. He's a rat.
He's a
and
rat.
And he can score goals. I watched him play in the OHL.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a good player.
He's a good player. He was a great player with the Blackhawks. He produced with Ottawa, and then it didn't work out there. Went to Detroit.
Yeah.
They got things going well with them, like with the guy like Sider and stuff like that. Young defenseman Lucas Raymond, Larkin.
Raymond.
Every
Oh
time
my God,
he
I
was
forgot.
out, every time Larkin was out, it seemed to impact this team big time.
Yeah,
like they
he's their
could
leader.
not win without him in the lineup. It's weird. And Lyon. What they picked up from Florida last year.
Perfect fit.
He was pretty good. He was a perfect fit. And Reimer's their backup. Well, he's average at best. Whatever.
He's good.
Yeah, whatever. But it'd be interesting what Stevie Y does, but the pressure is to make the playoffs. So their stock is up. So I'm going to tell you, since you brought up Philly, I'm going to say their stock is down. And what I mean by that is from the Tortorella aspect, I think there's cracks there. This team made strides. They faltered. But this whole thing with Couturier and sitting him out, I think it's going to have lingering. So you had Sean Couturier, sat him out, and there was that, why are you sitting him out? Like, what's the story? And he didn't want to talk about it. And this, I think he's addicted to playing these games with the media that, hey, I'm the show, guys. I'm smarter than you. I'm the advocate of hockey, and you guys know shit. You know nothing. And that story gets old fast. He's a good coach, there's no question. But I think he's either the Flyers are going to make a move in the offseason, or there's a short leash because I think this team made strides, but I think he's maybe maximized his worth to get the franchise where it needs to be to grow from there. I think that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think his act wears thin very fast.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on Torts with that because I do think that if you look at it, some of the stuff he does in the media is to deflect the attention away from what he's doing in the background. I think he has changed his style a little bit. He just doesn't want, he's kind of keeping that persona. Because if you look at the years in Columbus, I mean, he brought some pretty bad teams back up, and people didn't wear thin for a few years. I think he's got one or two more years, and yes, you're right. I think at that point it's going to be, we need somebody new, or you better win something. But I do think that they're better than. I think they're moving a little bit in the right direction because they've got young talent, but I don't think they're that good. So, you know what I mean? Like they made more strides than I thought they would. So, I mean, it is the Torts effect, but you know what? I think because if you look at his track record, he usually gets a couple of years. And I think that's what he's going to have.
Well, he's had like 2 years now so far, like with the Flyers.
So one more year, I think.
Like, what do you think those end of season meetings with the players, with Daniel Briere, GM of the Flyers, is going to be like? Like, I like the guy, or is he just a complete asshole? Like, what's the feedback on Torts, and will it make a difference?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you look in the media and stuff, like everybody seems to, like on the background, like the guy. Yet he's such a acid personality when it's out in the media. I think a lot of it's a show. Like not so much like you see other coaches that are fiery. I mean, I think he's in control more than he lets on.
Really? Okay.
Like he pretends to throw these fits and then. But you know what? The suspension did not help.
No, it did not.
Because they fell apart. But you see, this is the only other thing I'm saying. He still has an effect because he was gone for a couple games and they did nothing. They were verbal.
I just get sick of the antics of let me walk off of the media. Like, it's so like. Okay, so let's go to the other Pennsylvania team here. Yeah. And this is the one that's very intriguing to me because the Pittsburgh Penguins, they put their chips all in the middle, right? They put their chips in the middle on Kyle Dubas from Toronto, GM. He's got control of the franchise and the player movement. And they decided to go out and get Erik Karlsson, which I thought was, you know what? I was down with the move because if you were going to keep Crosby, You got to do something, right? Now, okay, I'm gonna let you talk on this one, but my thoughts are that they did it. They tried. It's a failure. The intention of this team is not to be on the last 2 games, like trying to fight for a playoff spot. They're trying to make a cup run.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be realistic here. And is it going to get lost that after the trade of Getzel that they got back into the playoff mix? Is that going to be some sort of sign of success? I'll let you talk about it, but I have a few thoughts after that. Go ahead. What do you think about the Penguins?
Okay, so I think the first thing is and I got the hindsight because I'm able to just talk about it now, and we had the podcast going, so you probably already said that you liked the Carlson move, but I know you and I talked about it. I did not like it.
Okay.
And I didn't like it because I'm just, after the knee injuries, I'm not a huge fan of Carlson. Like, I know he had the season he had with San Jose, and but I think it was a lot, like, he was just the guy.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing else, and he was feeling better, he was skating better, and that was it. I think to trade him to Pittsburgh, you already got Letang there. You've got now you got a conflict of who gets the power play minutes. Like, you know, they try it together, they try different combinations, but I just don't know if that was the right move for them. I think they really needed to probably add a stay-at-home and, you know, someone up front, which would have been the cost that you could have added versus Carlson.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the move, and then I think the whole mid-season flip, because they thought, okay, we're done, and then you dump Gensel. What actually did happen in effect was you pissed off Crosby so much that the guy still got that incredible will, was able to just kind of turn everybody around by himself. But, you know, maybe if that carried on with Gensel there, maybe would have just got angry anyway at the situation they were at. But I don't know. But I just think trading Gensel just kind of, you know, said, okay, we're not doing what we just said we were doing for 60 games.
What stood out to me was interesting. I thought I'd save the quote, but Kyle Dubas was asked about Sidney Crosby and his future in Pittsburgh. And he said, maybe I'm misquoting, but he didn't say I will. He will. He said, I think he should finish his career in Pittsburgh. He said, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So does that tell me that Crosby's in the driver's seat to his future? And if that's the case, I'm going to throw out a betting line to you here, because that's kind of like part of the show here is the betting line. So on FanDuel right now, will Sidney Crosby be a Pittsburgh Penguin will Sidney Crosby be a Pittsburgh Penguin week 1 of the 2024-25 NHL season? Yes is minus 900. No is plus 500. So the odds are that he's going to remain a Pittsburgh Penguin, and I'm thinking that plus 500 looks pretty good to me. And here's my rationale. First of all, I've never seen Sidney Crosby react some of those post-game interviews after like the Getzel trade and kind of the floundering was going on. He looked legitimately pissed off. He's being trained as a child, like 8 years old, to be media savvy, be very plain. Don't give anything. Do not give any juicy quotes. Do not give any juicy reaction. And this was the first time in all these years that I seen him break that kind of. He looked frustrated, right? And if I'm Sidney Crosby, what we seen this year was that he is still ridiculously good. Right? He's still ridiculously good. Like, he looked fantastic. However, the Pittsburgh Penguins as a franchise and Sidney Crosby as a player, I got to come together and say, look, do you want to make a run, Sid? Are we going to make a run, organization? And the organization say, I don't think we have enough bullets left in the chamber to put anything significant in the salary cap system where I can make next season's team any different than this season's team, where we're not going to be doing the same thing, fighting for a 2-point difference and making or not making the playoffs and being a real significant contender. And if I'm Sidney Crosby, why would I want to live through that? Right? Why? Why would I want to go to Colorado adapt, whatever. Like, for some reason, I feel Detroit is going to pick up a star, right? Because they're up. But why, Sidney Crosby, how many years do you think Sid's got left in him? Like, at the level Sidney Crosby is playing now? 2, 3? Maybe 2?
Yeah. Well, because of Sidney Crosby, maybe 20, but
right.
Yeah, realistically, yes. There's and he's partials of seasons now. Like, I mean, it's going to be, he's got to be almost in a way. Can't say Sidney Crosby is a second fiddle, but it's almost like you got to get into a Crosby Malkin. You got to get into
he's got to be the Malkin.
Or but I mean it's a 2-center like kind of team where like the great teams in the '90s where you had the Sakic, Forsberg, the Yzerman and Fedorov, like just that situation. So like all of a sudden he ends up in Florida, let's say.
Yes.
Then him and Barkov. Then he got some sort of crazy 1-2 punch, or he ends up in. Edmonton somehow.
Whatever.
They can't work because there's already 2 there.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, just one of those scenarios is he goes to Vancouver and plays with Pettersson or something, right? Because you can't trade him to another franchise that's going to sniff around the playoffs and then have to have a good run just to get there, or why leave Pittsburgh, right? So that's my only question if we were going to talk about Detroit. I think he's just got to get into a scenario where he looks and he's like, okay, this team is on the rise. They're good. They got a couple star players. I'm just going to go in there and be like part of that mix. And then he'll waive his no trade and ask to be moved somewhere. But I think he finishes in Pittsburgh because how are you gonna make all that work? Because really, he's hit away. All the promises are Malkin to come back, Letang to come back, everybody coming back together, and then how are you going to get rid of it all?
He's a winner. Like, he's such a winner that I'm very disappointed if that's, I think you're probably accurate, but I think I'm very disappointed if that's how he's thinking.
Well, I don't
because what's going to happen, he's going to make a secondary promise, or he's going to work out with the Penguins that, look, if we're fading out of the playoffs, I'm going to pull the trigger at the trade deadline, you're going to trade me. That's the way it's going to be. A la Patrick Kane out of Chicago. It's going to be something like that, and I think he should be smarter about this and have the balls to say, look, I'm reading the writing on the wall. This team is not going to be the place I want it to be. Let's think about it now, so that other team who wants me can build me around the foundation, because the only teams I'm going to go to are the ones that are going to be cup contenders.
Yeah.
Why would I waste my time of then trying to fit myself in like a Patrick Kane did with the Rangers? Why would I do that? If he does that, that is an error, and he's playing with borrowed time. He's playing with borrowed time, and I think it's a mistake.
I'm just trying to think like where else he could go.
With Colorado, what about?
He can't go to a lot of his teams still have the cap problems. This is the other thing. Because I was just thinking of the Rangers. I was just thinking about New Jersey.
New Jersey is actually interesting.
Well, the only interesting thing in New Jersey is they do need a goalie. Somehow they're gonna have to figure out a goalie.
You don't like Jake Allen? He's not bad.
He's not gonna be their goalie though.
Oh yeah, but he's like that. Fits that mold that you're talking about. If you got enough,
he's in there, but I mean, he's a career backup. He's not gonna be the guy.
But at least
and
he is
have
something
some
better
good
than
young goalies, and it just didn't pan out this year. So maybe one of them just takes all of a sudden steps up and is like, okay, I'm the guy now. But or maybe the offseason they try to get somebody in there. I just think Jake Allen's not gonna be the long-term solution there. And if you're gonna, the problem is, what do you give up? This is the other thing. So like, if he went to Colorado, what's Colorado gonna give him? This is a problem. Like, what can you give up? And I don't know if that's really gonna work with Kennedy and Crosby. They need,
but they're on Tim Hortons commercials together.
Yeah. Like, I just think like that's what I thought. Like, even like a Florida would be like a pretty good destination. Obviously, like a Carolina is obviously always in the mix for like a star player, but I don't know. Even the Islanders, Islanders need a player, like a good coach. Hey man, the Islanders are going to be interesting.
Lou Lamoriello is the biggest embarrassment in management. Like, this whole no facial policy, like facial hair policy, so goddamn stupid. I mean, I'm even surprised he traded for and paid Bo Horvat. It's just, he is a last guy I would want running my franchise in 2024.
True. I mean, it's an old school mentality, but you know what? Hey, like, that's a team that's going to be interesting. Wait, watch the playoffs. They're going to be interesting because they were interesting down the stretch. They got a good coach. They're playing at a level that they're interesting. So I don't know. Like he's a good from that perspective, but yeah, he's stuck in his ways. And I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like, it is an embarrassment in a way because you can't do that. That's why Buck Showalter, like, come on, that's why that guy's not baseball because you can't have restrictions like that.
Not in 2024.
No.
All right, let's. Is there anything else in the 24 season that stood out to you? I mean, we talked about earlier off mic about some of the ridiculous point totals compared to. Not even that far long ago, we have like multiple 50 goal scorers, multiple 120 plus point getters. Why do you think?
Sorry.
Why do you think we have maybe more of a influx of points in scoring or statistics? Maybe I'll say statistics.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but I really, in my opinion, I feel like the league's a little watered down. It seems to really been opened up, and there's a lot of things that you can't do anymore that you used to be able to do defensively. And so I just think there's a little bit more opportunity for guys to score a bit more. So, I mean, that's good because it's exciting to watch, but it's also not at the same level it was maybe 5, 7, 10 years ago. So you're seeing a little bit more of the records, people approaching the records. Like, even Ovechkin's still scoring at the level he's scoring. Like, and it was kind of funny earlier in the year. People were like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, "It's the same guy. He's gonna get 30."
Yeah, I thought he was dried up there. Then he started pouring it on. Yeah, he did.
And there's a lot of extra power plays.
Yep.
And guys are so good on the power play. Like, look at Edmonton, man. It's crazy what they've done over the last 5 years. That power play.
Right. We'll get to them in the playoffs. Actually, a couple stories that I did not bring up. One I'll start out with, and then I'll transition to the playoff picture here, is we learned for a while, Arizona was in deep trouble. They could never secure a rink. A legitimate story, a joke right now in the Mullet Arena where like 4,000, like not even a junior rink, not even a modern day OHL setup for an NHL franchise. We learned that they're moving to Utah. We don't know what the team name is going to be. My first reaction is I think it's inevitable. It's the best situation at the present. You have an owner, a multi-billion-dollar owner, Ryan Smith, Utah Jazz owner, who's taken over a 12,000-seat facility. It's going to be converted to a 17,000-seat facility. He is going to want to win. Going to be a different aura of running a franchise that he wants to make it first class compared to what Arizona has experienced. A lot of things to talk about when it comes to the NHL. I am very down on that. This is the only league that's had their commissioner for what is it, 30 years? What is it? 30,
exactly what I'm going
30 years that I think some of the things are outdated. That before it got to the Mullet Arena, don't you think that this move probably they should have cried uncle a lot earlier on that? I can understand Arizona's a market. That's fine. But it's fine, whatever. But if you don't have what you need as a professional sport where you're trying to be big league, you got to cry uncle and just move it. But I think they were stubborn and it just looked bad. And they got lucky that there was an owner who, I think Utah and those kind of states where it's not middle class America is exactly where the NHL wants to be.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be. The next Austin Matthews, who was in Arizona, is going to come out of Utah. That's who you want, right? Yeah. So they might have, the Mormons, a lot of Mormons in the NHL, but that's okay. So what are your thoughts on the Coyotes in general and this whole thing where it's led to Arizona and the NHL management?
Okay, so 100%. I agree with you. We're gonna go talk about Gary Bettman for a second, but I'm not a massive hater on Gary Bettman. I think that his tenure was good for a long period of time. I just think that you can see all the outdated information. Like, we've had issues now, and I don't want to go turn this into like a whole race conversation, or with all the the sexual assault allegations, all those types of things.
So because I think
it's
those
just
are valid
that
arguments.
I think that the NHL's handling of these things is incredibly poor.
PR nightmares.
Yes,
yeah.
they don't get it. They don't seem to get it. Like, I mean, NFL, which is notorious for all sorts of issues, at least has a better way of handling certain issues, and at least understand that you need to, whether or not you're even gonna do something positive, at least try to have an image of trying or caring or doing anything about a lot of the different issues that have come up. And I'm not turning it into this conversation, but what I'm trying to say is that I think Bettman at this point is not in touch with everything, and he's very stubborn as far as. So this will tie everything back to why I brought this up, is the simple fact that Arizona, we've had this conversation for like years. And the sad thing is even like the last 3 years, it's just been, it's like, the teacher putting your fingernails on the chalkboard, because it's like, why are you staying in Arizona? Why? Like, why do you insist that you need this market? The city keeps voting down, paying for the stadium. You got guys that coming in saying, I gotta get this land, I gotta do this, and this, and it never happens. Cut ties, get going, let's go. And you know what? Thankfully, it's been done. And they're gonna go to a positive situation in Utah. And I think Utah is hungry for something there. And it's gonna be a perfect fit. I think it's a good move. So let's just move on from there. But I think we need to move on from Bettman. We just need new blood. That's
It's
basically
new blood.
it.
It's
We
just
need
new
somebody
blood,
just with new age thinking. I mean, I think when Bettman came in, I think that was the positive. I mean, I know, people weren't exactly a fan, but when he came from the NBA, the NBA was going in the right direction at the time. He's the guy that, was there when the NHL really improved. So, you got to give him credit for that. But I mean, the guy's named himself to the Hall of Fame, so get going there, man. Don't be playing. Nobody's playing in the Hall of Fame. Even Jordan's not coming back and playing.
That's right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's done. If you're there, you should be retired.
Yeah, he's a lot of those things you brought up, whether it be Pride Night, whether it be Pride uniforms, whether it be
that's a whole other story.
like race in the NHL, and because of that stubbornness, he comes off as confrontational and not looking to resolve. Like, it's very combative. It's very combative, and it's why does it have to be this way? And he reminds me of somebody who's still stuck in the banking world, talking about bonds. You need to save and put in bonds for instead of maybe exploring diversification. It's outdated. It's embarrassing. And speaking of outdated and embarrassing, when we switch over to talking about the playoff format, your audience, you're paying like the audience, like your ticket buyers, your TV watching, your jersey buying, don't want your current playoff format. They want a 1 to at least 8 or something that is more indicative to a value of the regular season. And, I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm kind of shifting to I kind of like it, where the NBA is trying to do a lot of European football kind of stuff, where they do like it's not relegation necessarily like European football does, but the idea that you're paying attention to the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds in the race there, that there's something on the line to why you're doing it. You can consider it watered down, or you can consider it interesting. I don't know what side you fall on there, but for them, because the conversation came up to Bettman, he's like, shut it down. Oh, everybody loves our playoff form. What the hell are you talking about? I'm not saying you have to go as far as going maybe that route. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm thinking you at least got to think about it. But to think that people like the current playoff format now, are you online at all? Like, do you have social media? What are you doing?
Okay.
What do you think?
So, yeah, my opinion, I'm with you 100%. The issue, like, my thing is the issue isn't the 1-8. I mean, it would be nice to try something. Like, you do see it. The NBA seems to, I mean, the fans seem to love that format right now in the NBA. So it is a possibility to try, like, some sort of play-in. But at the end of the day, the 1-8 isn't really the problem. It needs to be 1-8. It doesn't need to be division leader here. This, like, half the time I look at it, and, like, I mean, I'm a big hockey fan. I followed this all my life, and half the time I look at it, what the hell is going on here? Who's making the playoffs, and why is this like this, right? Like, it's just, I mean, there has been some crazy plays, like, plays, I guess, lead-ups to the playoffs. So maybe, in Bettman's mind, oh, well, we had a chase for... But you know what? You're always going to have chases for the last spots. But you want fans to have, like, a comprehension of why, it's... Why teams are, sitting where they're sitting. And it'll still create a lot more excitement. And it'll be a lot more enjoyable because you'll be into it more because you're like, this game means this. It doesn't mean... Well, they did this, they win this division, so now they play, like that whole Vegas thing. Like, well, what happened last night? It was like 5 different scenarios, but none of them made sense.
Yeah, so LA flips into the third spot in the West, and then Vegas holds down as the second wild card. It was also, I remember the Islanders over the last 3 weeks have been suddenly now they're not in the second wild card spot or first wild card spot. They're now third in the Metropolitan. Now they've bounced from over here to up here. Like, you can't have that. It's too complicated. And honestly, they have no stones to look at the whole. You get a point, I get a point.
Yeah.
You get the extra point. I hate that thought process is so fucking dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah, you know what? So pointing to England.
Yeah.
Europe. Basically, so I shouldn't just say England. I'm a Premiership guy, but so pointing to Europe, those leagues, when you have like Division 1, you have Division 2, they have full support because those teams have been there generational. So relegation works great there. So that system is a perfect system. You can never use it in North America because it's like they got to be the top tier, and I don't care. Like minor league baseball does not work the way Major League Baseball works, right? So that isn't going to work. Same with hockey, obviously. But what will work is some clarity of how it works, and maybe they do need to have one or two, some sort of plan. The only issue I have with the plans is just one game's a little tough in hockey, but if you tried to do a small series or anything to try and justify that, the issue is that I don't like buys in hockey because if you have too long off, it affects you in a big way. I trust me, from playing hockey, it's the same thing. Like sometimes we win a league and then you have a week off and the other teams are playing and then all of a sudden you're like, it takes a while to get back into it.
But you do, yes, that is a valid point, but you do have a situation where if you found yourself in that one-off game, you put yourself in that position, right? And that was the risk that you did when you were going through the season, and that's kind of like the consequence. I kind of like that. And, the Suns, for example, who reached the 6th seed in the NBA, avoid playing that extra game or going with the Heat through the Heat. They made a run last year, even though they were lost that first game, just like they did this time, and they'll go up against the Celtics. But I like the idea there's a consequence, and there's a reason why I'm looking at the 5th and 6th and 7th seeds and the 10th seed, and there is value to keep the season interesting.
But I think for basketball, it's a different sport. Yes. I think, and the other thing is that basketball has clarity in how they get to where you seed in the playoffs. Like, I think the NHL, like, as much as Bettman says, "Oh, everybody loves it." They don't. It's a mess. That's it. I don't know. I was watching the Leaf game and they were up 2-0 against Florida, And then by, halfway through the game, they're down like 4-2 or whatever. And I'm like, the whole playoff structure just changed.
Right.
Like, it's not even like 1 point was the difference. It was this team ended up here because they were in first, and this team ended up here because they were not in first in their division, but they had this 1 point behind it. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I just think that's, maybe they need to look at the playoff system, but they need to have a clear 1-8 in both sides.
Well, I'm going to end it by looking at that last sequence with the Flyers, Capitals, Red Wings, and Montreal, where there was a kind of a tight timeline where as soon as Detroit took it to overtime against Montreal, suddenly that because the way they did it eliminated Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
And then Philadelphia already had pulled their goaltender because they needed to win a regulation. It's like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And the Blue Jays just didn't hit home run. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, heading into the playoffs. Now we got, here's your predictions, your betting predictions to, just be careful and how you take our, opinions on this. But let's start off with a series that's going to kick us off tomorrow afternoon. I don't know if there's much debate on this series. We got New York Islanders taking on the second seed Metropolitan team, the Carolina Hurricanes, who are in the last couple of years have wanted to be in a contending situation. Scoring for Carolina has kind of been the problem. They tried to pick up in the last few years Max Pacioretty. He could never stay healthy.
Yeah.
So they decided to go with Getzel this trade deadline. They try to play more of an offensive game maybe than before, and they got the Islanders who don't have any facial hair. So that's the big story on them. So the Carolina Hurricanes for the series are minus 360. Big upset here would be if the Islanders won plus 280. Do you see any situation really where the Islanders could take the series?
Yeah. This one actually,
okay, wow.
Oddly enough, I know you just went on that tear, but
yep.
I love Carolina, and I think that they should win that series, no problem. But I just like the run that the Islanders are on. So I think there is an opportunity, but in the end, I mean, I'm still backing Carolina. So, I mean, I just mean that I do see there's an opportunity for the Islanders to, if there's going to be an upset in the playoffs, they're a team that's rolling into the playoffs. So that's the only way I can say that, yes, there is an opportunity because they're rolling. Like, you want to compare, I don't want to jump series, but you want to compare it to the Capitals. I think the Capitals get crushed because at the end of the day, they were minus 37 all year long.
Yep.
They got hot for a little bit. They're not doing much, in my opinion. But I think the Islanders, it's not as clear cut as you think it is because of the simple fact that they were the team rolling. Carolina's been in the playoffs since day one, basically. They know where they're going.
So what you're saying is the Islanders, don't write them off. They could do it. You still take Carolina, but you're not like betting the mortgage on it.
Yeah, that's not my slam dunk series, I guess.
Okay. So where would you see this series going? How many games? And Carolina's your winner, but how many games?
Okay, I gotta make it weird.
Okay.
I'll say let's go. I think it's 6 for Carolina, but you know what? I gotta just say 7 just to make it even more fun.
Well, 4 games to 2 for Carolina would be plus 360, plus 420 of 7 games. So which one would you kind of lean toward? 7, 6, 7.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make it interesting.
You might as well just split and put some money on Carolina, and then plus 880 if somehow the Islanders put that at, went into 7 games. Interesting. Okay, so you think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
think that's going to be my one where I'm off topic or off page.
Okay, I'm going to say Carolina in 5. I'm going to go off the script here, plus 290. Carolina in 5. All right, so we're going to leave the Leaf Boston one to the end for the local flavor. All right. So let's go Panthers Lightning here. Panthers take the division the last night of action. Boston drops down to play the Leafs, and honestly, I feel that the Panthers desire to be in a series with less travel. For some reason, I feel that was a big part of that. I don't know, the desire to blow the Leafs out and not care that they wanted to travel back and forth in Toronto. I don't know why. But Panthers, minus 194 home ice advantage over the plus 160 Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning are obviously three times Stanley Cup champions, but 2-time in this kind of era, and going to a final against Colorado. Knocked out by the Leafs last year. Do they have anything left in the tank?
They definitely have something in the tank, but I think Florida's winning the series just because I think Florida is ready. They're looking to make some noise in the playoffs. It's Florida Tampa, so I know it's a weird hockey analogy to call this a rivalry, but it is. You know what? It's going to be a good series. I think it's going to go. I'll give you 6 as my prediction.
Okay.
I think Florida takes it, and the reason is I just think overall Tampa is good, but I mean it's smoke and mirrors at this point, and I just think Florida is going to be the real deal this year.
All right, so Florida is plus 420 to win in 6 games, so that's your take there. So Florida win the series overall. Now, what's interesting here in this series, obviously a rival, but it was the loss after their President's Trophy victory 2 seasons ago when they got knocked out by Tampa Bay that triggered Burnett gone after Joe Quenneville gone for whatever reason. We know the reason, but Burnett, wins the President's Trophy. He's gone coaching Nashville. We talked about that earlier. And I like it because Florida said, look, fuck it. I got to go get a Matthew Tkachuk. We won the President's Trophy. We won our first round against Washington. We got knocked out by Tampa Bay. We're not good enough. We're not good enough to make a run. And they got Matthew Tkachuk. That is what I'm screaming for with the Leafs. Didn't see or won't see until they get hit. They're on the tracks and they get hit by the train. So I think it's going to be different. This is the series they wanted. They will prove it. Like you said, I think they're going to overwhelm. You got Reinhart, 50-plus goals. Did you see that coming?
Yeah,
you say, wow. Do you like Bob?
Season.
Did Bob descend it? Like Bob is the playoff goalie that he comes through in the playoffs. Ekblad, and you got Barkov. I mean, I think they got the right team here. I was going to say Pierre Maguire.
Yeah.
What's his name? Oh my God, coach the Panthers.
So you're talking about the guy who used to coach the Leafs.
Oh my God,
Paul Maurice.
Paul Maurice. Like, what do you think of him as a coach?
I like Paul Maurice. I've always liked Paul Maurice. I think he's a solid coach. I think players like playing for him, and he's not soft on them.
No, he's not.
So they like playing for him, but he's also not soft. So I mean that I think that kind of tells you all you need to know. It's like John Cooper in a way. I mean, I'm not comparing them as exact same, but I just mean in that philosophy of, you know what, I'm gonna be a little hard on you, but I can take you aside and I can explain why, and you're gonna like playing here. You're gonna like playing for me, and guys play for him for years. Like, that's the thing, and they play hard and they give them max effort. And I think one comment for Florida, I think they're a really good team, and I think the thing is that they won the President's Trophy. They crapped the bed basically. Mm-hmm. They got rid of some people, which were good people. Like Brad's a good coach. That's not it. They made some changes because they need to make changes. And when they made the changes last year, I think there was a lot of Cinderella. They got the goals from Tkachuk. Bob came out of
Bennett
came back out of nowhere. Really,
Sam Bennett.
Bennet's a good player though, man. I know. He was kind of he was kind of in limbo there. Yep. Some of that all worked out, but then it also
Montador.
Montador. I know, but then it gave them that kind of belief that they can do it. And so now they have that, and they still have the talent. So that's why I think that now they're just solid. Like, I mean, people will say, oh, well, they just had a ridiculous run last year. But no, they were a good team. They made some changes. They got better. And I think they're going to be solid, and they'll make their run past Tampa. And I mean, but you know what? Hey, again, Tampa wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not even banking on that one. I'm saying Florida.
100% agree. I'm going to go with the 6 as well, plus 420. The fact that this team was a Chicago Blackhawks win, the reason why they got in the playoffs, knocking off Pittsburgh at the last game of the season, is remarkable. Because, like you said, as soon as they have this playoff run, it's kind of like a bulb went off. Like, what the fuck? What are we going on here? Like, what's going on? I'm a Starbucks drinker. I'm not a Tim Hortons drinker. I'm a Starbucks drinker. I'm going to bow down and go on a drive-through and blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
God. All right. So
I have my Timbs right here, by the way.
Yeah, you know. That's why you're not a Florida Panther. All right. So we're going to move on to the Rangers Capitals series.
I meant the host is the Timbs.
Yeah,
it's a cup of Timbs.
I'm a coffee time. All right. Actually, we need a beer break. Do you want a beer?
Yes, I need a beer.
Okay.
And this
so
is.
I'm going to pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Beer break, maybe pee break.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Pee breaks, beer breaks, ready to go. Cheers, my friend. Here we go.
Cheers.
Yeah. We're going to jump on to the next series. We have the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers. Maybe the most complete team, but potentially, as far as all around D, goaltending, and forwards, taking on the, honestly, yeah, they got Ovechkin, but they're very bland with the Washington Capitals. Like, I just don't see any bright things happening here. I'm going to go jump on first with my prediction is I think this ends in 5. I don't know why. I think this series ends in 5. I'm going to bring up the totals here, but I'll let you get your 2 cents in there, and I'll maybe add on what the odds are. So what do you think of this series? Washington, New York.
Okay. So I'm going to have my brag now.
Oh.
So, because I've always been the President's Trophy winner. Always a problem, right? So last season, I picked Florida, and I won a couple pools because I picked Florida to beat Boston. And then I also had the Leafs crapping out to Florida the next round, and I have all the text to prove it. So I was pretty excited about that. So that is a slight brag on that, but the point is that the President's Trophy is a tough thing to strive for, and generally sometimes teams back into the playoffs or get a little bit complacent. But in this case, I'm gonna say there's 0 chance. I think it's 5. I think the Rangers win in 5. I just think because Ovechkin's gonna do something in one game, or like a throwback night sort of deal, and they'll get a game out of it, or somehow the Rangers will fall asleep. So maybe there would be a 6, but honestly, I say it's in 5 as well.
That's plus 280. I'm on the same page. I don't see much coming out of it. Let's stop here for a second. I'm gonna talk about, because we talked about President's Trophy winning. And again, I'm gonna go back to the EPL. I'm gonna go back to European football. There is a lot to hang your hat on different aspects of the season, which I find very, exciting, right? So let's take the best team in the land, at least in the EPL for the last few years, and that is Man City.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with Man City, right? So, they have the EPL title, they win the Champions League, they win the FA Cup. You have teams that are chasing Champions League positions, Euro positions. You have teams trying to avoid relegation. You have teams in lower divisions trying to chase promotion. You have teams making a run in the FA Cup. We have special stories. You know what I mean? There seems to be a lot more beyond just the Champions League final.
Yeah.
That it seems like the NHL and other sports have painted themselves in a corner that there is no accomplishment is worth celebrating other than winning a Stanley Cup, winning a Super Bowl. I know the NBA is trying to change that with the in-season tournament.
Yeah, I do like that.
And it's going to grow. It's going to look a lot different. It's a good attempt. But I don't understand why you can't look at obviously the Stanley Cup as the peak, but also not recognize the difficulty of winding up with the President's Trophy or a division title. Like, you temper your celebrations maybe. It's not a Stanley Cup. But what is wrong with making those things valuable? It's almost like we're wrestling fans, right? You know how the Intercontinental Championship used to be something worth, watching, and now it's nothing. And it's kind of felt like
it's nothing, man. Look who's winning it.
That's all,
Who's the champ right now?
Sami Zayn.
Exactly, he's Canadian.
Right.
Come on,
that's
man.
right. But I mean, they've tried an effort recently to try to make it worthwhile with that situation. But I don't think there's anything wrong with recognizing it's a big deal to win the President's Trophy. I think there's more valuable that teams will stay in the run longer when you get to the end of the year where teams are coasting, there should be value on a President's Trophy or a division title so that I don't rest my players more often than I should because of those values. I think it's lost, and it's a shame because you see European football, a lot of the things they celebrate I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it, and it just adds more to the whole story.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
I'm with you on that. It just I don't know what you can do in hockey at this point. My thing with hockey is that obviously I love it, and so it's gonna be a big thing for me to not watch hockey. But I like basketball. Mm-hmm. And I liked basketball as a kid. I like playing. I like watching if it's good. But the problem is I can't watch the NBA. And then the playoffs start. I'm like, well, the playoffs are interesting, so now I watch it, right? The problem is that the regular season, you get too much of it's the same. Like it's guys aren't playing defense. Guys are resting, and I think hockey's going down that road.
yes, it is.
And so my argument is, and it's probably not a favorable one, but my argument is you need to shorten up some of the season. But the big problem with that is then you want to compare errors, and it's going to be very difficult. You want to have enough games because you want to be able to go to a game when you want to go to a game and not, have one a week or 2 a week, which, if you're reducing the schedule to do that. So you're going to have to find other things, and I'm just not sure how, because the President's Trophy, it'll always just be looked at. You can't up the prestige at this point. You have to have like a tournament, and I think that's where the NBA and this is the whole mentality. The NBA has a different commissioner, so they're doing different things. The NHL says the same old guy from 90s, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's still thinking it's the same game, right? Yeah. So, the NBA is trying different things. They're trying the play-in. They're trying the tournament. Hockey has to just try the tournament and see what it is and see if people will actually follow it. And you know what? Like you said, it's building in the NBA because, it was a bit of a joke at the beginning, but then, you're kind of like a couple games in, you're okay, now it's interesting. Now these guys are playing. Guess what? They played more. LeBron played more games because guess what? He was trying to win it, right?
You had something as simple as you had fancy courts.
Yeah.
This is also a playing game or a tournament game. It looks different. There's something worthwhile checking out. Let's check out this new court. The NHL is lost on that. They looked, before we went back to the agreement to go to the Olympics, they looked at the Olympics as a leverage play with the players. Right? I'm going to use the Olympics as a leverage play to get what I want in this other area when we negotiate. Versus, hey, owners, guess what? If we go to the Olympics, this does this, and that to the future growth of your investment in the game. That's the difference in mentality in the NHL, which really is sad. Really sad. Yeah. I find that as a kid growing up, the Hart Trophy was exciting. Yeah. The Norris Trophy was exciting. But when you start awarding Hart trophies to, let's say, an Austin Matthews had a great season, and they got eliminated in the first round, it's like, I really don't legitimize this Hart Trophy because, the story wasn't fully completed until the playoffs was done, and because you've focused so much on the Stanley Cup, if there's been no progress to that goal, then how can I legitimize this Hart Trophy winner? Right? He didn't even make a run. Like he wasn't significant.
Yeah.
It's hard to relate the best player that season when the main accomplishment wasn't even close to being. I couldn't even say, "Hey, Austin Matthews, you had a great first round, but you just got fucked over by your teammates." I couldn't say that. He did nothing. So those are the kind of things that really piss me off, and I feel sad that we haven't evolved to that point. And to your point, even thought of fresh ideas. To whether it be shorten the season, add an in-season tournament, you get the same revenue, whatever it is.
So here's the thing. So you just said the in-season tournament. So you know what? Yeah, instead of having that week off or whatever they have when it's strange in the schedule, you know what? Look and have a tournament or something.
Yes.
And then break everything up. But guess what? It's never going to happen because there'll be liability. Somebody's going to get hurt. This isn't hockey. There's going to be all these naysayers, and no one wants to come to the forefront and just say, you know what, we should do this. It's like the Olympics. Like, they just keep... I mean, now they're finally going to do it, but I mean, how many years are wasted? Like, that's still exciting when you have the players there. Yes. I mean, everybody wants to see it, and people are like, oh, you know, liability, all these things, and I don't know. And then you're going to have the PA saying, oh, we can't play these games because these games are, you know, they'll be too hyped up, or they're going to get hurt, or be knocked out for the playoffs. Or you're going to see one guy's going to get hurt, and everybody's going to be like, wow, now he's not there for their team in the playoffs. He wouldn't have been playing so hard if... yeah, it's just going to be nonsense.
But it's not... at least give me the illusion that it's not about your investment as an owner versus the greater health of the game. Give me the illusion that at least I believe you're thinking that way. I believe that the current, whether it be NHL or sports ownership, is simply locking in like real estate, and your commissioner is your realtor or your investment banker that it's telling you that just lock in here. Here's what we're going to do to control costs. Yeah. And 10 years from now, you'll be able to sell the team at a profit. That's it. Or now, guess what? The new thing is you'll be able to now hold on to this team for 10 years, and you'll be able to sell a percentage of the team for basically what you bought the team for. Yeah, so you still hold the team, but you would now get back your investment. That, you know, Terry Pagula just did that, announced he's going to try to sell a piece of the Bills. Like this is the same garbage that is losing.
I'd argue they sold a lot of that team anyway.
Yeah, what's that?
I said I'd argue they sold a lot of that team that's playing the off-season.
Stephon Diggs, bye-bye. Anyway, so we look at that series. So we like the Rangers pretty heavily in that, and really, I mean, it would have been a lot more of an interesting series if we're talking like, let's say, Rangers, Red Wings, or something like that. It's just the Capitals are so bland, it's boring.
Well, and again, I just point to that minus 37 or whatever. It's like the worst record.
Like the differential, goal scoring differential is so bad.
And I mean, you can't just pick on that. It's just I've seen this team enough all year. I mean, yeah, it's great. So you got Ovechkin, maybe, you know, like I said, he's going to give you a game or two that's going to be exciting. And then you're going to get, you know, you might, the goalie, the unnamed goalie, but, you know, he's won a cup, so maybe he has a game, but what, Mike Green's going to come back? Like, you know, Rod Langway, is he still there? You know?
Rod Langway.
Yeah, they're missing too many pieces.
All right, let's move on to a more interesting season. So a team that bounced back this year to have a great season, the Vancouver Canucks, will take on the Nashville Predators. The Predators started off slow, got red hot near the end of the year. So this is such an interesting matchup because I think the Canucks kind of like got brought back down to earth the last 10 to 15 games of the season. Didn't really look dangerous against the top teams in the NHL. So this is a very interesting matchup. The Vancouver Canucks are minus 150 to take the series. Predators at plus 125, closer than you would think. So what are your thoughts on this series and the Canucks prevailing over the Predators?
Okay, so my only issue right now is that I think I'm taking too many favorites.
Yeah, okay.
I usually like to take a bunch of upsets, but with that being said, my issue is that Demko was out for a bit. I think there was a lot of they were going hard most of the season, and I think this is almost like a President's Trophy winner where they just kind of got lazy for the last little bit. But I feel with a coach like Tocchet, you know, Demko's back. Demko looked pretty decent. I just think that they're gonna have enough to get past Nashville. Nashville was hot. They got a good system going with Burnett there.
Yeah.
But I just think, you know, and even if you're gonna go apples to apples, I mean, I just think Quinn Hughes is, as much I love Yossi, you know, he's maybe, you know, got it going a little bit more right now. And, you know, Peterson and JT Miller
Brock
up
Besser,
front. Besser. Oh, yeah, he's a beast.
He's had a bounce back here for sure.
Yeah. So I just think there's a little bit more firepower, a little bit more going on there. What just? Oh, sorry. The game just changed. I was like, what just happened?
Oh, okay.
Came back.
The for some reason I feel this like a very peculiar, almost feel like the Canucks have had. All right, we've kind of reached our quota of what we wanted to do this year and have that bounce back and overachieving kind of season. Nashville with UC Sorrow in net, like I could stand on his head. He's one of the best. I think you know him as a hockey fan. but I think he's an unkept. He's a secret in the NHL as far as a guy who can maybe dominate a series like a Carey Price or whatever. We're gonna see it happen, but I mean, he's got the eligibility for it. So I'm gonna go different. So you said Vancouver, right? But how many games did you say? What did you say the series is gonna turn out?
I think this one's going to go deep, though.
Okay, 6-7.
Yeah, 6-7. So let's go with the. Nah, you know what? Let's let it go 7.
You want to go 7, huh? Okay, so the 7 is going to be, if you want Vancouver in 7, that's going to be a plus 410. So okay, that's a good pick. I'm going to say here's a crazy one. Nashville in 5.
Yeah.
It's going to be plus 1,300.
You think
And
Vancouver's emptied the tank?
I think they've emptied the tank. I think they're just. I think they've hit their peak. I think Nashville looks to be a little more. Wants it more. I don't know. I think UC Sorrow is going to be the difference maker here. Ryan O'Reilly's going to catch on fire.
There you go. Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly.
You got to go there, eh?
Roman Yost, all those guys. But just a gut feeling. I think the Predators take this in a surprising 5 games. And there's kind of like a back to the drawing board where the Canucks are okay. Everybody's so happy with it because they have a great season. But they'll have a little more pressure next year coming into the year. That's my thought. Anyways, Oilers Kings. Why this series starts 2 days after the first 2 days of the playoffs on Monday? I don't understand. Another fuck up by the NHL.
Yeah.
So the Edmonton Oilers coming in with 2 straight losses. No, one lost against Arizona, Colorado. The Kings took out, got the third position in the West with Vegas taking the last wild card spot. We have the best player in the world. Right? We have the best. Would you agree with that?
Zach Hyman?
McDavid? Zach Hyman,
Yeah.
50-goal scorer. Hey,
buddy.
So,
I'm telling you, man. Nobody listens to me, man. Guy's a solid player. He
He is,
scored
he's a
all his
solid player.
goals. They're like 3 feet away, but you know what? He does the stuff that no one else will do.
you look at the Edmonton Oilers. You got Draisaitl, McDavid. You got some complimentary pieces like Hyman, like Nugent Hopkins, and Vander Kane's not a bad ad,
it's
and you
weird.
got Corey Perry, some solid guys in there. You got D-Core, that's okay. Bouchard, he's got a bomb. He's got a bomb with a shot. Skinner's been solid in net.
Yeah.
I just don't buy this team. I mean, maybe I'd buy them against the LA Kings. So, by the way, it's minus 192 for the Oilers, plus 158 with the Kings. The Kings, they were on edge to not make the playoffs, to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have, I don't think they're, Byfield's actually impressive.
He's been a lot better. Oh my God.
He's impressive.
He was a massive bust for a couple of years. This year he's been.
But he's coming to his own.
Yeah.
Kopitar is Kopitar, but I think he's on obviously his back 9, maybe holding 16 in that. I don't know what the Kings are. I don't know what they are. Like they're a bottom feeder in the NHL with solid talent. Like Doughty's still there, playing solid, but he probably hung on too long with the Kings and probably needed to do like a move somewhere else.
I'm sorry.
Where he should have kind of added more of a secondary role for himself. I don't know how to say that, but I don't see reason why Edmonton's not going to win this. I'm going to say 6 games. They'll probably blow the first game like they always do, but plus 420, I'd take the Oilers in 6. What are your thoughts?
I mean, LA just, I don't know. At the beginning of the year, I thought there was, I don't know. I just thought they were going to do something. I thought they were going to be interesting. And watching them through the year, again, I've been watching a lot of the later games for bizarre reasons. Just like I said, I've been awake at the point and, been busy before. But they're a good defensive club. But, I can't see them taking the series. I think Edmonton will blow a couple games just because they're not as deep as, I don't know. I just think they're just... Yeah, I'm going to agree, unfortunately. I like agreeing with you, but I'm thinking it's probably 6 and Edmonton's going to win.
How sad is this? It was a gutsy call for the Kings to acquire Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Oh, that guy.
And, here's a good sign. He played 82 games this year. 40 points for a guy you're paying what?
How is
$7,
that a
$8
good
million,
sign?
$9. This guy, like I thought with the Jets, that was a great move at the time.
Amazing.
He had highlights. He had ups and downs with the Jets, and then eventually at the end it got low. Right, he got low. Like you would see a highlight here or there where he coasted during his shift or that, and the Kings, gave a good haul for him from Winnipeg. And when the salary cap that you have now, you're stuck with a guy that's not dominant, and you're paying like $9 million a year.
Yeah,
that's a big problem.
But here's an even more frustrating thing with him. I'll bet you whatever you want to bet right now. Next year, he's going to tear it up for about half the season. You're going to be like, oh my God, this guy is like...
worth the money.
Yeah, this guy, he'll look like the second coming of Draisaitl or something. You're like, oh my God, this guy's going to be amazing. He's going to do some stupid things, and then all of a sudden he's just going to slow down, and then he's going to do what he did this year again, and then has to be traded or something. Because that's the history with this guy, unfortunately. Seems to have these moments where you're like, wow, this guy's like top tier. And then you have results like this year.
You know what's pretty sad? We just said this about this guy. We're sour on him, we're down on him. But it's the Columbus Blue Jackets still made the right call to take him over Patrick Laine. Isn't that pathetic? Like Patrick, like they took him. Oh, they bypassed. No, not Laine. Sorry.
I know what you're saying.
I apologies.
No, I know what you meant.
Oh my God.
Laine.
They took. Oh my God. Now I have to. Okay, before we finish the podcast, I got to remember because I can't remember. They took him over somebody else that I can't remember. Oh my God. What was it? It's not Laine, but
the guy in Philly. Nolan Patrick?
Nolan Patrick was number one. Okay, we'll have to look that up. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Now you're going to look it up, right?
You're darn right.
Okay, how about you look that up while I move on to the next series? I don't think that was much of a decision based on what we talked about. Edmonton takes that pretty easy. And then we go on to the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'll tell you what, I'll kick it off my thoughts on this series. This is a very, very interesting series. Dallas Stars are minus 130. Obviously, they got home ice advantage. You got the defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champions of the world, Vegas Golden Knights at plus 108. Oh, by the way, did you know that one of the potential names of the Utah franchise is going to be the Utah Golden Eagles?
What?
And I'm like, what are you doing? You have the Vegas Golden Knights. Well, how could you possibly have the Golden Eagles? Anyway, plus 108. Vegas playing the whole shell game with the cap. And Mark Stone suddenly ready to go. He must have had a Southern Baptist preacher cure him, ready to go, that he suddenly circumvents the salary cap. Jack Eichel actually has impressed me in his short time in Vegas. He's actually looked like that franchise, centerman that the Sabres coveted, which never panned out. And we talked about the cap. I forgot to mention Noel Hannafin, who got traded during the trade deadline, signs a long-term lucrative contract. How they have cap space, I have no idea. But I looked at the Dallas Stars and I said, look, the guy like Jake Ottinger in net, and the kind of the run and gun that they have, and DeBoer as their coach, Robertson, still got Jamie Benn. He's not even close to what he was before. Tyler Seguin's decent. Yes, and Pavelski's solid. He's the guy still motoring along, man. Pavelski.
Yeah.
Heiskanen on the decor. They got a lot going for them, but for some reason Vegas has it going. I like the plus 108 in Vegas. Any other matchup, give me Dallas. If it was Dallas and LA, obviously I would take Dallas. But for some reason, you give me a decor like the Hannafin, Pietrangelo, Mark Stone if healthy, Thomas Hertl, in the lineup is depth, Eichel, Marchessault. Like they still have, Aiden Hill hasn't forgotten how to play net, and they can be solid in front of him. Give me that plus 108. And I think the Vegas Golden Knights will win this in 6 games. And if they do that, it's plus 470. So Vegas Golden Knights, the scammers of the NHL in the salary cap era, they will win the series. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But plus 108 value in my books. What do you think?
Okay, so just quickly,
Yeah.
Jesse Priarvi.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
So he went 4th overall with the
To the
Edmonton.
Edmonton Oilers.
And then, believe it or not, you
He
know who
finished
went
off with the
5th?
Penguins.
Only, can't even pronounce his name, Jarelov for Vancouver, and
Yeah.
then Matthew Tkachuk. So you know what? Maybe they should have taken Matthew Tkachuk.
Well,
Probably
if
would
you
have
can't
been
pronounce his name, how does NHL
And even
career turn
Clayton
out?
Keller, he's a pretty
Clayton
solid
Keller,
player.
yeah, he's actually pretty good with the Coyotes, yeah.
Yeah, but 8 was Alexander Nylander, so yeah. There's that.
Alexander Nylander, he's actually had a good run with the Blue Jackets, scoring some goals. Franchise now. Well,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
But come on, Vegas, Dallas, what are you thinking?
All right, so I think the world's taking Vegas. To be honest, I think this is going to be the upset that everybody wants. Everybody's going to take, and unfortunately, I'm not. I think Dallas pulls this out, but I think it is going to go the 7. I just think that, just for the simple fact that I like Ott, and I just think that they have a gritty team. I think that they're gonna leg it out. It'll take a lot to beat Vegas, and again, to my point before, you know, the big D that Vegas has, yeah, but I don't like the way. I don't know. I know they stumbled it last year and then pulled it all together.
Yeah.
They got a great coach, that kind of thing, but I just think that this year, I don't know, it's hard to go back to back. And I think they're going to get out at some point, and I just feel like Dallas is going to pull it off.
Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. So we know that Arizona, the Coyotes are moving to Utah. Part of the arrangement is that current owner, whatever his name is, has a certain window of time to have an arena in place to be allocated at another franchise in Arizona. So there's been rumors that the NHL want to, again, consider expansion. They already have 32 teams. So let's say, for example, I know, but let's say, for example, Arizona gets a team, which I think the NHL desperately wants to do. I think they're going to, all that means is that if you can't do it, somebody else will, and it's going there. There's going to be another team.
Yeah.
Is Houston that team? What do you think? Does that make
Call them
sense?
the Arrows again?
Yeah. Do you ever see a team in Quebec City versus Houston team?
I don't think Quebec City's getting a team.
Never. It's never happened.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
so I'm going to go out there, and I mean, here's the bad thing. Like, we haven't got to the Winnipeg series, but that's a team, like, you put them back in Winnipeg, you had success in some of the seasons, you've got a decent enough product there, and they're struggling with attendance.
That's insane.
And so I just feel like second team in Quebec, probably not going to work. So he knows that, and he doesn't want to come to Canada anyway. So I just don't see it happening. But yeah, maybe Houston. I mean, that's a market you kind of want, right? Like they want to be all over, and they want the big markets. So possible, but I don't know. I just think, like I already talked about watered down. I can't see having another. We can't have another franchise at this point.
Honestly, I haven't even really heard like a solid reason why. Like it is very surprising that the Winnipeg area, they are struggling to, let's say, season ticket holders or attendance. Like what are we not hearing of why? There's got to be more than people are not just interested. Have the prices skyrocketed? Has the season ticket expectations changed, where if you renew your tickets, you're committing to this, whether it be price or locked in or commitments to something? There's more to the story that we're not hearing, or at least I haven't heard. Because it's very surprising that a Winnipeg market in an arena that's the lowest capacity to begin with can't sell out. And we're talking about, we'll go to this series, and they're struggling to make the playoffs. They got a good team. This is a great team.
Yeah, I think 100%. I'm not picking on Winnipeg anyway. It's just economically, it's not. There's other cities that can support, ticket prices going up.
Yeah.
Maybe the full interest isn't there with everybody in the city. I mean, we just think it's a cold city, so guess what? They love hockey. You know what? Maybe not everybody does. And the cost everywhere is up. But in Toronto, you got all the corporate
Yes, yes.
Sponsorship. You know, so when the economy goes the way it is going right now, businesses are spending. People may not be, but guess what? Those tickets are mostly business. Buffalo has the support of Southern Ontario. You go into the States and you've got all different economies that you can deal with. I just think in Winnipeg right now, people are struggling and hockey's not going to be their first focus.
So
that might be why they're struggling.
Are you saying that potentially that maybe we might have a reverse where Atlanta goes to Winnipeg and maybe back to Atlanta?
Oh my god!
Because Atlanta's apparently on the table.
Yeah, how's Atlanta get into the mix again? They blown two franchises, man. They didn't even stay very long either time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's going to happen. It's some reason it's going to happen. And
well, Atlanta's a big market, so I mean, if you can figure it out, that's why you want to do it. But I just don't see it if you tried twice. And it's a warm place, and I mean, college football's a big thing. Like basketball's a big thing. Football, NFL, like everything is much higher focus there than hockey.
Right.
Baseball is, the Braves are like second tier there. What does that tell you? That's one of the most successful franchises in a lot of sports.
And they had to actually move out of the suburbs, like their home parks, like not directly in Atlanta, right? Like that helps. So where's the hockey team? Can be downtown Atlanta?
Yeah.
Because all the corporations are there. It's. I mean,
I just don't think it's the right market.
We live in a mess. We don't live in a. Maybe it's the curtain's been unveiled that. Maybe we don't have people buying teams because they love the sport they're buying they look at it as a growing investment. So that's, maybe you got to open our eyes to that. And that's why a situation in Winnipeg, that it could drop of a hat, it could be in Atlanta, it could be Austin, Texas, maybe a growing market there or whatever. So a poacher comes by and you're going to have somebody take on that team. So that sucks. So speaking of that poached team, we got the Avalanche, who are on the road and do not have home ice advantage, are in Winnipeg. Winnipeg has home ice advantage.
Yeah.
And they're a plus 115 to win the series. And Colorado is minus 138. I'll give you the first chance. What are your thoughts on this series?
So who's the favorite?
Favorite is Colorado, even though home ice advantage sticks with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be the hardest series for me. And it's funny because I just went on the whole McKinnon run, but I don't know. Right now, I'm still making a decision as we're talking because I just think with Halleback and the way he's been playing, that's going to be a tough one. Jennings Trophy.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really tough one. I don't know. Sorry, I should have had a definitive answer, but we're just kind of talking about it. You know what? I need an upset, so I'll take Winnipeg. I'm going to take Winnipeg and
Wow. Winnipeg. That's insane. How many games?
I need an upset, so let it ride. Let's go. Winnipeg and... All right, let's go 7.
7 plus 470, which...
I'm going to lose that bet, guaranteed. So no one listen to me. I'm taking it anyway because I need an upset.
That is almost like the same philosophy if you're filling out one of those bubble cards
I know.
and you have too many C's and you just don't want to take a seed.
You know what? I'm not sold on Scheifele either, but you know what? He's gonna have to have a good series, and I mean the team, if they play the way they've been playing all year, then you know what? They should win.
Right. Okay.
Because the bottom line is they beat them every time they played them, pretty much. So. You know what? Halleback's going to steal it. It's going to be the way it is.
Well, it's funny that I talked about Jake Ottinger. You just talked about Halleback. We're talking about American goalies, and we talked about the Olympics.
Name a good Canadian goalie.
Exactly. So who is your Metropolitan for the Canadians? Like, who is the top Canadian goalie versus the depth chart that the USA team has?
I don't know. Jamie McLennan, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Jay Noodles, yeah.
Noodles.
But look at that. Ottinger, fucking Hellebuck.
I know.
That's
and
insane.
look at Russia.
And I'm missing guys.
Well, I guess they're not going to be playing, but look at the goalies there.
First of all, if they don't play,
saying,
that's a crime. That's a
know,
crime.
But
That's
what
a
are
crime.
you going to do? I guess they call them the unified team.
I don't
or whatever
care. They
do
got to
in
have
the
a team.
Olympics.
They got to have a team.
But look at all the goalies there. Look at even
Finland.
yeah. Like, honestly, Joseph Wall.
Joseph Wall, imagine that.
Who is there?
Vasilevsky, Jake
Demko.
Ottinger,
Where's
and
Demko
Joseph
from?
Wall.
Is he American?
He's U.S.
Yeah, he's American.
That's another consideration.
Yeah, there you go. Wow.
That's wild.
Skinner.
Yes, Superintendent Chalmers.
Yeah, so wow. Yeah, actually, who the hell
We're in
is
trouble,
it?
man.
Yeah.
We're in big time. Fleury's your best guy.
We got a lot of good D. We got, Fleury can't be the best guy. Who
else is there? Damn, if you can't think of one off the top of your head, who is it? Look at this. James Reimer? Think of the top guy. Who's the Vezina candidate this year?
Okay, so...
Holy cow. I didn't even thought about that category at all.
Buddy's suspended, so he can't even be
Is
the guy.
Shesterkin Canadian?
No, the guy who used to be a Philly there. He's suspended.
Oh, yeah. Hart? Yeah, he's
Hart?
not...
he's not a factor.
He might be behind bars, not behind a net. Yeah.
Hanging out with Danny Breer's
Yeah,
son.
exactly. Throwing the wheelchair down the stairs?
God, please don't bring that up.
Okay, and who is a Canadian goalie right now?
The guy that we talked about before, that won the Stanley Cup.
Oh,
That
Aiden
guy,
Hill?
we never
Aiden
got
Hill's
his
the
name.
number one guy?
No, not Aiden Hill, the guy who won the cup for Avalanche.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Like, he's with he hasn't played
Is
with
he
Washington.
Swedish or
Oh, my God.
Is he even Canadian? I still haven't thought of his name.
Hold on. Av Stanley Cup goal. I can't believe I can't think of the 2022. Let's go players. Okay, I got it right here. All right, players. Come on. Key goaltenders. And it went back to the Patrick Watt era for Colorado. Sorry. What the fudge? What?
Well, Lindgren's the goalie, and who's the other goalie?
No, it was, God damn it. What the hell was his name?
I keep thinking of Abisher, but obviously that's not him.
No, it's Swiss goalie Abisher. No, this is really bugging us right here. Okay. 2023-22 season. All right, goaltenders, come on, let's go.
Darcy Kemper.
Darcy Kemper now with the Capitals. I don't know if he's healthy. That's the problem. All right, so
He's Canadian.
He's Canadian, yeah. There's your Darcy Kemper. I can't even tell if he's healthy. That's great. All right, so you think you like Washington in this series? You like Winnipeg, the upset. I just don't think they can score enough goals. I like, obviously they had a stretch there where they were not allowing 3 goals, like less than 3 goals in a bettor's dream. Like, it was ridiculous. It was like over 10 games where 10 games straight there's 2 or less or whatever. Even in some losses, 2 or less. It's insane. But I like Colorado in here. If you like Nathan McKinnon, you like Makar, I think they're going to score bigger goals. Winnipeg is going to go back to the drawing board because they can't score key goals. I think that's their Achilles heel. And I like the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games in this one. I do. So as far as that goes, 6 games for the Avalanche would be, come on, give it to me. 6 games to the Avalanche would be plus 390. Now we go on. I think we covered every other series but this one. And you correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Oilers, Stars, Knights.
Yeah, we got them all.
All right. Now, this is what everybody's been waiting for. This is the main event. This is the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Right?
Got to finish the story.
Finish the story. This. Okay, you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe the Leafs
have to
are the
finish the
Cody
story,
Rhodes.
right?
They have to finish the story. So, so the Canadian Nightmare, the Toronto Maple Leafs, are underdogs in the series because they're on the road to kick it off on Saturday night. They're plus 100. So basic even money. Sorry. For the series, Boston's minus 120, so a slight favorite. So there's some hope in regards to the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is like very emotional. This is very upsetting. And when it comes to a franchise like the Leafs, you have a lot of people, legacy, sons and fathers, mothers and daughters, and cities and communities outside of Toronto really live and die on what's going to happen in the next week or so. And again, to add to the story, the day that you had, oh, look at that, base hit, and Tatis made a really fucked up there on a potential triple. And inside the park, home run maybe? No. And he
triple.
slid for no reason. Anyway, I digress. I cut the tension with a knife there. So
Wiz Khalifa there?
yeah. So we have the Boston Bruins, which in the minds of Toronto fans is the biggest story, the biggest rival. Even though it's been like 5 years since they last played in a playoff series. Leafs have lost to other teams other than the Boston Bruins in the playoffs. But the pathway, and I talked about this earlier, the Leafs would have to go through Boston, potentially Florida or Tampa Bay. They knocked off Tampa Bay last year, so Florida would be really a part of the story if they could do it. And this is it. I don't think they can do it. Don't get me wrong. I'll be on the train to be excited. I'm not sitting here saying they can't do it and not want them to do it. I'm going to say that they can't do it, and I'll go with that. But I want to be very clear on that. I don't care what I select here or bet. If they win, I'm on board with it. But this is the make or break, line in the sand type of series for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if they don't win, then I'm done with this current version of the Leafs unless they make a significant move. This would be like the Raptors keeping DeMar DeRozan and expecting things are going to change.
Yeah.
That's simple as that.
DeMar here.
Or DeBar Low. So I'm going to take the Bruins in 6 games plus 520, and with the hope that the Leafs will surprise me. But unless their power play is clicking, first of all, I'm just watching the Blue Jays right now. Kiermaier stinks. He's done. He's done.
Hey man, did he have a big hit earlier?
He's done. I'm sorry, but anyway. So as far as the Maple Leafs go, unless their power play clicks, unless Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, Nylander and Tavares do anything significant, they will not take out Marchand. They will not take out Pasta. It's just not going to happen. Those guys are winners, and the Bruins are either up or down, where they make the final, maybe not win the cup, but make the final, drop up, and maybe this is their up season. So I'm going to say Bruins in 6. I'm going to leave it to you, and we'll discuss a little more after you're done your take on this.
Okay, well, what I think is going to happen is the Leafs are going to be up. They basically have guaranteed themselves the series, and then Domi's going to hit somebody from behind, get suspended. Oh, no. Sorry, that already happened.
Okay.
No,
and then he moves on to a team, becomes like a Conn Smythe kind of candidate. And significantly impacts the Stanley Cup winner that's not the Leafs.
Yeah, no, that'll be maybe Bertuzzi or someone else they'll follow the Kadri path.
Okay.
No, remember the adult, the senior Domi did that.
Yeah,
remember?
It's true. Yeah.
Niedermayer.
Yep, he did. Yep, suspension.
Yep, and cost them the playoffs. But anyways, we're digressing. So the bottom line is that I would like to say the Leafs are going to pull an upset. I think they're capable of a first round win, but not this one. I think that they're going to be out in 6, the same. I don't want to go with the same. So I almost want to change it, but also it's like you said, scratching the ticket, changing it. I think it's going to just be 6. I don't even think it's going to be 7. I think that Leafs will win 1 or 2 just to get the fans going and make it look like something's happening. But I just think that the Bruins are a little bit better team. Just that D-core is good. The goaltending situation will straighten itself out for Boston. I think that hopefully for their perspective, they solve the silliness of trying to rotate the goalies and maybe ride the hot hand and just take the series that way. I hope that something's different. Obviously, as a Canadians fan, I never want to see Boston do anything. That has always been my first thing, is Boston out before anything. But I just think maybe it'll go 7, but I think 6. And what is this guy doing here?
Yeah, he's going back on the Blue Jay game. That's kind of doing a waist thrust of some sort to distract the pitcher. I have no idea.
Like a little,
but it's in San Diego, so I don't know why that would be happening and why this guy's paying that much money for seats doing that. I don't know. Anyway, I think you're right. I think for some reason Boston is going to win, but it's going to be more of a heartbreaking where there's hope for Leaf fans, which is disgusting as far as like the history we've had so far in a team. The expectations and the ceiling was higher than what we've seen. I hope we're wrong. I hope we're wrong.
Yeah,
I really do, because I'll be on the bandwagon. I'm going to be on the bandwagon.
Yeah,
I'm critical of Austin Matthews in the playoffs. You know what? But if he scores 5 goals, and dominates, I'm down with that. I'm not going to be against it, but I'm looking at history as a trend, and this is what we've seen in Mitch Marner. I think when we look at what we believe is going to happen, I think he's the guy that's going to go. I don't know if you think
I'm not disagreeing. I just, my opinion is I don't think he will go. But
oh my God,
if he
what
does,
do they do?
If he does, then there's going to be a good shot, and he has to. If they're going to win, he has to be a factor. And especially if Nylander's not 100%, like what's going on there? We don't know. But they just I just think there's enough sample size here. Like Boston, they had a tough run last year. I think they're just a little bit better than they were last year. McAvoy's playing out of his head.
Yes.
And they still have. Who else do they have on their D? They've got a couple other guys back there. That like Ekholm, isn't he still there?
For Boston?
Yeah. They've got some firepower.
Let's look at that firepower back there. See what them boys are doing back there in Boston. Do you have a Boston accent at all? Like, would you?
Yeah.
No.
Boston. Nope.
Boston. Boston. So we have on the D core. You got Corvo. It's actually good. It's actually pretty good. Shattenkirk is actually a veteran defenseman. That's Shattenkirk. Remember, he was the big pickup for the Washington Capitals when they were trying to make it right.
Lindholm's still there. Hampus Lindholm.
Yeah, they're solid.
Oh, what did I say? Lindholm is what I meant.
They're solid. McAvoy.
Yeah, Grizzlick is good.
Yeah, just
Shattenkirk. Yeah, Brandon Carlo.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Brandon Carlo. It's solid decor. I think their foundation is solid. I think it leads back to your point at the very start of this podcast that when you got your foundation on the back end, makes your goalies look better, makes your forwards look a little better defensively. But it starts there.
They also have the best left winger in hockey.
What? Marchand?
James
Riemsdyk,
man. No one can bite a mouth guard better than that guy.
Oh my God, yeah. Let's have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I find the Bruins though, their philosophy. You watch them on the power play. They quick shot. The Leafs are circling around the wagon, circle, no shot. There's something not right with the Leafs when it comes to utilizing and maximizing their talent. I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
Yeah.
But if they don't make changes and they lose that first round or even the second round, I don't care. We're beyond. They beat the Bruins, great. We're beyond this now. That's it. I don't care. They need to go to the conference final. Honestly, they probably need to make the Stanley Cup final. This is where we're at. That's it. And if it's the same garbage, I'm done. I'll come back in the playoffs when they actually produce. Yeah. But I'm done. I don't care about the regular season anymore. But anyway, is there any other thoughts about the Stanley Cup Finals or the playoffs you want to throw in there? Any last thoughts about the Montreal Canadiens' future? You, as a Habs fan, do they have a future? Do you like where they're going and where they'll be?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I do like that they, they've stockpiled a lot of young talent. I think the front office is looking good. One of the major issues is that they've always tried to, look for French players to appease the, the fans in Quebec. But I mean, it's not bad. Like, I understand why, but you know what? Your mortgage players to do it. It just becomes a bit of a hole in your team. They haven't quite done that in this new rebuild. They look like they've got some good young talent. I like St. Louis as a coach, but at the end of the day, is he really the issue is he going to be there when things start to turn up?
Though. That's
so we'll see. Yeah,
just
how many guys get cited, fired with 3 years left, but Montreal's pretty cheap and they probably won't. So yeah, I think there's some definite positives. It looks like they like Montembeault as the goalie. I'm not exactly sold on that. But yeah, they're going in the right direction. And you know what? The one thing is that the Leafs didn't do in their rebuild, and there's a whole kettle of fish as to why. Yeah. But they improved so fast, so soon.
Yep.
And the fans got on them to do stuff, and they made a lot of silly moves fast, and it slowed the progress. I think in Montreal, not making the playoffs this year is a good thing. It allows them to stay the course, and I think in the next couple of years you're going to see a lot of talent there. And at the end of the day, they've got draft picks. If they don't, they can bring the right people in to fix some of the holes that they have in their system. So yeah, they're going the right way.
Is Nick Suzuki your captain? Is he the franchise guy, or is he?
He's the guy there.
What is Nick Suzuki?
He's a good player, and I think he's developing. And you see some strides this year. Like, he's a little bit better than I thought. Like, I thought he was good.
Yeah.
Then next year I kind of went, well, is this what he is? But I think he's definitely had some strides this year. So I mean, he's a good player, and I think there's some good pieces around him.
Okay, two other players, Cole Caulfield.
What
is he?
He's a decent player. I think he's
decent. Is that what he is?
Yeah, he's going to be a good goal scorer.
But what's the ceiling? Is it 30 goal consistent? Is it?
Yeah, I think that's what he is. He's just like one of those guys. I think there was just so much hype put on him.
There was a lot of hype,
which shouldn't have been. He might pop 40 1 year.
Okay,
be like, okay, that's interesting.
But that's max.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay. And then you have Savlovsky,
I don't know what he is.
He's interesting because I think in 2 years he's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
Right? He's a monster. And
he's got a lot
20 goals this year.
Yeah. And he's got some, kind of, little bit of Barkov kind of feel to him. So he's got more than just, a straight one-way player.
Do you think it's unfair that he got drafted first overall, but maybe that's not what a first overall expectation will be? Like, I think that's maybe overwhelming it's unrealistic to expect that kind of first overall potential for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Almost maybe Nugent Hopkins versus, McDavid, right?
Yes. But if he was seventh, overall in the first round,
then it'd be a great steal. You'd be like,
that's right.
What a big success. Yeah, you're right.
What an odd situation based on where you're drafted is going to be probably your legacy with the bar being set high for you. Anyway, we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That's a good conversation. I felt talked a lot about a lot of things and in the NHL this season, next season, last season, many seasons ago ahead. So I appreciate you coming along, and we'll find you a nickname. So it's Rick, just Rick.
Yeah.
Right now, we got to find you a nickname.
First pick Rick.
I like it, but I don't know if you want to go. You want to stick with that? First pick Rick. No,
whatever
okay.
We're called, so.
And appreciate it. We're gonna, leave it from there. Pleasure was all yours to everybody else who was listening out there.
Yeah.
And
sorry, everyone.
That's right. So the Overrated experience is over and out. Bye-bye.